kinds of things that you have to do on your end to make sure this thing, stays charged up. In our operation, like we have two larger trucks, there's a certain area where they park. Every time those guys stop, even if they might go out in 4 hours again, they always plug their truck in, get the block heater, and they plug in their sprayer. Because they do that, they don't have problems. The new circuit boards do have an SD card that will throw codes. So if you're having constant issues with your sprayer, we can actually pull that SD card out and see what codes it's throwing. So if you're actually saying, no, I charge my battery all the time, we'll kind of be able to call your bluff on that. So don't try to get away from that. So again, very important to do that. So the Legacy series also comes standard with a 100-foot electric rewind hose reel with an adjustable spray gun. So there's 3 ways to actually, rewind that hose reel. You have the button on the box. You can do it through the app on your phone. Or every sprayer also comes with a radio frequency remote. So the nice part is if I were to pull this hose reel out and spray along the building, instead of coming back here and having all the hose just laying here coiled up and then wind it up, I can wind it up. Since it has the roller guides, I can do that as I'm coming back towards the truck. So really nice feature to have. But again, I encourage you to use the remote to do that instead of your $1,000 iPhone. Don't get Brian on this, you get Brian on this. So it also comes standard with the strobe lights and the work lights here. That's all done through your BSI app. I can turn them on right now. Something else when you're using the sprayer, the engine does charge at about 6 amps, but if you constantly run your lights and your strobes with nothing running, but they're really nice lights and strobes, so you want to have them on while you're plowing, make sure you don't do that, because you're just going to drain that battery down, it's going to cause other issues. The circuit board does have protections built in. When you get to certain voltages, it'll take away your lights and strobes. Another point, it's going to take away your electric rewind on your hose reel, just to make sure you're still able to use the spray function here. So there's a lot of things the sprayer will prevent you from doing to protect that battery, but there gets to be a certain point where you do have to step in and make sure it's charged. Some of the newer trucks actually have the outlet in the bed, and people just get a 6-foot heavy-duty extension cord and keep it plugged in at all times. That's also a good option.
Have you had anybody use the 7-pin for a tiny battery?
Yes. Yep, people have done that. So it sounds like the engineering team at BOSS is working on a kit that could go with the sprayers to plug it into your 7-pin. Some people will wire it directly to their truck battery. I will not tell you to do that, but I'm also not going to say it can't be done. We just had a customer, for example, use 10-gauge wire, run from their battery on the sprayer to their truck battery. No fuses or anything like that. They had a glowing wire underneath their truck. So again, if you don't know what you're doing, don't do that. So the other cool part about this system is the fact that you can start and stop the engine from the app as well. Right now there's little actuators inside this box that are pushing the cable back and forth. That's another reason why it's really important to keep your engine clean, keep all those linkage components lubed up. That's going to be very important for that. So you can do, your choke can be off, half, or full, and you have 5 different throttle positions. So again, I can start it and stop it from my app. You can also do it from your remote as well. So I'm going to throttle up and turn it on. So right now we're in post-treatment mode on the boom. So we're spraying through the 1-inch stainless pipe in a jet stream pattern, and then we're spraying out the center nozzle. This is pretty average for a post-treatment application. The top nozzle you see that's not being utilized, that would be if we were in like an Amazon warehouse, FedEx, something big where you have a lot of speed. You're trying to actually meet your application. So I'm just going to fire it up right now just to show you the difference between an open flow system and then maybe more of a closed flow system with nozzles that's only good for a pre-treatment application. So that right there, that was 45 gallons per minute that we were getting here on it. Another thing, since I talked about the hose reel and spray foam can actually track separately to the tracking app, the fact that you have to actually use your app to like hose tracking so it knows what it is. So when you do that, like right now we're at an idle, you hop out of the truck maybe, start pulling out your hose reel. If you're at idle, you're not going to get much flow out of that stuff. So once I turn on hose tracking, it's going to automatically throttle it up to 100%. And then once I shut off hose tracking, it's going to go back to whatever throttle position I was at. So again, we're idling right now. Out the hose tracking, now we're back to idle where I'm at. And like I talked about using your remote to actually rewind the hose reel when you're doing that. And turn your remote on first. So the hose reel itself too is important. There's a gun holder on there to put the gun in there because this is not a locking hose reel. It will, unwind itself as you're driving down the highway. And if you do that, that is not a warranty item when your gun breaks. So keep that in mind. Scott's not going to warranty that for you. So just keep that in mind. You need to put it back in the hole. But that's an adjustable spray gun, so you can do pre-treatment. Again, that fan pattern is nice if you're doing steps or faces of curves, things like that. It's really good to have. But besides that, there's not a whole lot on the sprayer itself. Everything is controlled on the circuit board that's right in here. You'll see there is an antenna that's on the side. Since we have a 305, we're in a pickup. There's really nothing interfering with signal between your phone in the cab and that antenna. If you're using a larger truck with, say, a stainless steel heading rack or even a dump body, whatever, there's enough cable on that antenna to get it to the cab side of that heading rack. That way, because the Bluetooth signal is actually very short wavelength, you want to make sure you have as little in between that antenna and actually your device. If you're just trying to go through a tank of liquid or a heading rack, that signal can get interrupted. So if you make sure you do that, that's where you take away your signal issues that you might have. So another thing that can happen, since this is a Bluetooth control, we've had customers that do work at Amazon warehouses. They actually run Bluetooth blockers inside their facilities so their workers can't sneak AirPods in or something and listen to music. That signal permeates through the walls of the building. When you do that, you're not going to be able to connect to your actual spray rig. It's going to disconnect. So this is a radio frequency remote. It's still going to work in like an auto mode, but it's going to default to about 100 gallons per acre. So if you are in that situation where you lose Bluetooth signal, or even if you have your phone and you stick it in your sweatshirt pocket and it falls out and breaks, it's not like you're done for the night. You still have this radio frequency backup remote. So if you were pre-treating, you could throttle down to about 50%. It's not going to be perfect, but it's going to be pretty close. There's also an emergency backup harness that goes with this remote in case your battery is completely dead. Because we've all had those situations where you have one more parking lot left and something breaks and you can't finish. What do you always think to yourself? If I could just finish this parking lot, things wouldn't be quite as bad. We have a backup harness that can plug into the back of your circuit board. You can quickly run it through the window. It'll plug into the cigarette lighter in your truck. And all you do is you plug it into the bottom of the remote, and you're back in business. That's going to take away a lot of your functions, but at least you can still spray. That's very important to have. Now going to the boom itself, so this is what we call our 84-inch pile driver boom. We call it pile driver boom because, again, a lot of people back into snow piling. The idea behind this is that you can back into a snow pile, you can back into a concrete post, dumpster, light post, whatever. And yeah, you might tweak it, you might bend it, but it's still going to work. A lot of our competitors are running, you know, like aluminum tubing, plastic shrouds, plastic nozzles. You back into that, you break those nozzle bodies off. If you lose the nozzles with them too, you might be looking at $40 per nozzle body. This one's just a stainless pipe with plastic cut holes in it. That gives you your jet stream that you're talking about. The other nice part is when you shut off your T-jet valves up here, everything in the hose and in the boom itself will drain out. If you leave product in a boom that has nozzle bodies with pressure caps, you can hold that product in there. And what will happen is if it sits there for a week or two, sometimes that water can evaporate away, leave that salt behind, and plug up those nozzles. So you'll go to your first parking lot of the next storm, and you're pulling apart 8 of your 11 nozzles, and basically pull them apart, fire it up, let everything go through, and put them all back together. No one really wants to do that. So right now, like I said, it's in post-treatment mode. This one here is just a fan nozzle, so if you want to go to pre-treat, get 100% coverage, just take this cam lock fitting off, put it on here, and that'll give you 100% coverage. You can switch to your lower nozzles that are at the bottom here. You have the different nozzle types for different flow rates. The idea is that you always get 10 feet off of either side. So if you're doing 40 gallons per acre, you get 10 feet. If you're doing 120 gallons per acre, you get 10 feet off the side. So that just keeps a nice, even pattern at different flow rates. So that's the important part. Another thing too, if you do back into something with this style boom, our older ones were welded and solid. If you bent it up bad enough, you'd have to just get a hold of it. Usually that meant you were in a pretty serious car accident. But now, even if you were to clip something and bend this piece or break these nozzles, you can replace just these. So every part on this boom is going to be a separate part through BOSS. So if you do break something, you can replace just that. But it's pretty rare to actually have something that breaks on here. We had someone in Alaska get rear-ended with this boom last year. The only part that broke was this nozzle here. This piece, they could have replaced it, but they actually just bent it forward, put it back together, and it's fine. So, very tough, very durable. I know, for example, the guys at Loyette, one guy there in particular, not Kevin, tends to find a very solid object once or twice a year with their boom. They bend it up, but get it in the shop, heat it up, bend stuff back where it needs to be. It kind of looks a little ugly, but it still works. So you're not destroying the boom feedback into something, because who wants a piece of plastic hanging off the back of their truck? So,
how does it do as a step?
It's sturdy.
Yeah.
Yep.
I work with Indians, so
Yep.
they'll probably kick a nozzle off.
Yep. We actually, the first version of this boom, we actually have a video on our YouTube channel where I think we had 5 or 6 guys standing on this thing, jumping up and down. So that was a joke. Some of the competitors, when you're at a trade show, you look at their plastic boom, and like if I hopped up on that thing, it would just snap right off. So again, very strong, very durable. But that's our contractor background. We had our initial boom was just angle iron with pipe with all the nozzle bodies. I actually was the guy that built all those at VSI when we started. And the landscape side of our company would come over, I'd build a boom for them, they'd take it out that night, 9 o'clock the next morning, they'd bring it back with a box full of nozzles and it's all bent up. I never punched anyone, but I really thought about it. So again, this is durable. Even if you back into something, it's not like your night is over with. You can still finish the night. Your spray pattern might be a little messed up because this is bent backwards, but you're still getting product out. So it's not going to be perfect, but it's going to be pretty close. Again, it's 2-inch receiver, and it is adjustable here. We recommend 18 to 24 inches off the ground. So if someone has a little bit higher truck or something like that, you can flip that over, flip it either way, and adjust it and measure. Make sure you're at the right height. So yeah, and basically at the end of the night, if you're in this truck here and you want to take the sprayer out, pull your hitch pin, pull your hoses off, take a forklift or a skid loader, lift it out, set it on the ground, and you're done. No harnesses or anything like that to actually have corrosion in it. Everything is self-contained.
Adam, a good question. You said if you go to pre-treat,
yep,
and you go to that other nozzle, you said that was a fan nozzle?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, just a fan nozzle that's the lift.
Okay.
Yeah.
So pre-treat's always going to be a fan, and you're always
for the
going to
most
straight
part.
stream on a.
Yep. If you're in a municipal setting where you're actually doing roadways,
Yes.
and we would recommend still using the center bar part. Okay. So you have the lines, and actually, if you get some speed, like we're about 30 miles an hour down the road, this fan nozzle is probably going to blow around and kind of dissipate. So you're not going to get the product where it needs to be. But in a parking lot, for the most part, this is going to be just fine.
So if I wanted to do subdivision streets,
Yep.
could I leave it where it's at and just reduce my throttle? If
Yeah,
I want
actually,
a straight,
you would reduce the application rate.
and
while
it,
you're
okay,
having
so
some-
we won't have that same
Yep.
pressure.
Yep, exactly.
What kind of speeds can you pre-treat at and still get?
So if, for example, if you're, and this is an extreme case, if you're doing just the center bar at 40 gallons per acre, the system maxes out at like 58 miles an hour.
Oh wow.
Yep. So for most parking lots, we'll just say this. You know, if you're in a Walmart parking lot and it's in the middle of the night, maybe no one's there, you know, you can do like 17 to 18 miles an hour, 80 gallons per acre at 27 feet wide. The system will support that. So compared to a lot of other systems that, again, reduce, after the pump, a lot of competitors use the same pump, but they just reduce things down and restrict the flow of that fluid. For us, we just open that up and just, you know, let it do whatever it has to do. So if you need to do 120 gallons per acre with this system, it will do it. But it's constantly displaying on your app. You know, if you have it set to 80 gallons per acre, and you're like, is it actually putting that much down? It's going to give you a display about what you're actually spraying, you know, per acre. So if you're going too fast, it might just hover around 71 gallons per acre when you're trying to do 80. That's just your sign to slow down just a little bit to let that system catch up. Or another thing, make sure you're throttled up to 100%. Or if you're really not getting good flow rates, check your filter. You know, that's another thing too. That's pretty common. People don't clean that out. I recommend when you come back after a storm, you know, you do your maintenance on it, clean stuff up. You're in your shop. You have to use like a big channel lock or like a pipe wrench to loosen this collar, but then the filter actually just pulls right out. So again, just check it while you're in your shop so you're not trying to do it in a parking lot. In fact, that stainless brush or that stainless filter, a toilet brush actually cleans it out really well. So we even joked about sending a toilet brush with every sprayer so you don't have to clean out your filter. So, yeah, any questions on this unit itself or any of our units at all?
I know you have different sizes. Is the only thing that changes just the size of the tank and then the rest of the back?
Yep. So like on the Legacy series, we have the 305, 500, 750, 1000, and 1600. So that's the exact gallons that it actually is. And those all actually have the same skid underneath, the 305. And then we just bolt different size cradles on top of that. But yeah, everything from here forward is identical from sprayer to sprayer. So that way nothing actually changes.
And you can buy that system and put it on any tank.
Yep.
Hook it up there.
So we also have another one.
You got a big tank. You can.
Yep, called the automated power bundle. If you were to basically cut the skid right in front of the tank, you can buy just this part too. So if you have like a hook truck that you can put a 2,000 gallon tank on, you mount your tank to the bed and then you mount this power bundle. It comes with all the plumbing to actually plumb it into whatever tank you have. But yeah, then you can run whatever size you need. I mean, we've had people put these on like 4,000 gallon tank trucks too, and they spray with them. So since we stop at 1,600 for full skid mount units, that allows you to have a bigger sprayer if you need to. So we've sold these systems to companies that pre-treat for like Maryland and Virginia. They'll actually contract out to private contractors to pre-treat roadways. They buy this system as is. You just use it. So there's no modifications. You don't need a bigger pump like I was talking about. You're spraying single lane, 40 gallons per acre. You can do 58. They're not doing 58, but you can do it. So.
Let's see it spray wide.
Sure.
Watch out, Wayne. It's just water, so I think.
Spreaders.
Yeah, they can't carry the flow with electrics. So you can't get the flow with electric. And it
Not with your whole grind.
Yeah, and it drains too much battery. So so that's the reason we do have electrics, but they're just an on-off in one lane. Yeah.
It's just weird hearing it again.
Yeah. Adam, so if I'm spraying with that, if I understand correctly, and I'm spraying, I got it so many acres, and I pull up and stop, it shuts off, right?
Yep, exactly. So in auto mode, when you set it to 80 gallons per acre, no matter what boom configuration you actually have turned on, this proportional valve here, so you may have seen it when I was actually adjusting it, you'll see this arrow move. That's what's adjusting your flow. So I can be going 80 gallons per acre, 15 miles an hour, 27 feet wide, and then of course someone pulls out in front of me. If I hit the brakes, unlike a VBX spreader or something where you have to turn it off, this one will close this proportional valve so it stops your flow. So you're not just sitting there spraying, dumping out product. Once you start moving again, that's going to kick in and it's going to open up again and give you your flow rate that you actually have in the system. So basically what it does, it takes the human error out of the operation of the spray unit. Instead of just being on and off, it's going to do the guesswork. You take away the guesswork, it's going to do everything for you. So some people too, you have the app itself. So I was actually controlling the boom sections there. You can use this at the same time. So if someone likes to just have that feel of an actual remote in their hands, you know, maybe you're not picking on the older folks, but they're not as used to smartphones like the younger people like me are. Like me, I can do it without looking, but some people just like to have this feel as well. So the other nice part is when you have this remote, if you're going out to self-fill, you can throttle up and start it with this too. So you're not, again, dealing with brine, having the phone in your hand, you brine all over your device. So
That's risky business.
yeah, any other questions at all?
So with this thing, do you recommend starting it and just leaving it running from site to site? Or
So-
shut it off and start it up?
So that's the nice part about having total control, which actually controls your engine functions. What you can do in between sites, especially if you're driving down the highway, especially in St. Louis, it's not that cold. I recommend shutting it off. That does a couple things. That conserves fuel, and then you're also not pulling that salty air, you know, from road spray. You're not pulling that into your engine. It's just sitting there. You get to the site, fire it up, do your spraying. Or if you're just going to be going, you know, 3 blocks down the road, you don't want to shut it off, you don't have to, just idle it down. Because, I mean, it is just a Honda GX200. It doesn't have the biggest fuel tank on it. So we can't do an auxiliary fuel tank that would void warranty. You know, Honda won't let us do that. So if you can conserve fuel by idling it down or shutting it off, less times you have to get out. I mean, I know Kevin can talk about that, how basically you fire it up and leave it run. Unless you're going to drive a long distance, right?
Yeah.
Yep. So you just go through more fuel than you really should.
Okay, just make sure every time I'm going out to fill my tank back up, I just top the fuel tank on.
Yep, exactly. It's just,
At what temperature do you not shut it off?
I guess for me, I mean, if the engine was warm, it's not that big a deal. But you know, when it's below like -10, there's also not going to be a lot of road spray. You don't have to worry about that so much. I'll leave it. I may throttle down to 50%, but I'll leave it run just to keep that engine warm. Exactly.
We've had a couple storms where it'll be 5 screens.
Yep.
And like the guys that stuck the track.
Yeah.
We had one storm 4 years ago-ish. One of our guys got struck out on 44. And it was literally 4 hours to